So even though Apex Legends is an all-encompassing battle royale, one thing that I've noticed from a pure fight perspective, there's usually two different flow states that you can expect from your average team fight. There's push flow and pull flow. And this is a strategy that I used to use back in my Call of Duty 4 days, getting success in lobbies and game battles and stuff like that. And it's something that I've carried on and being able to find success in Apex Legends as well. Now, of course, there is a state between both where you're both basically at a temporary stalemate, but that's not necessarily important to talk about for the current conversation. The concept of this would be a little different to something like Call of Duty 4 in regards to that game having an immediate respawn after death mechanic and this one not. But the concept of Apex being a battle royale makes it work even better in my opinion. So to put it frankly, both states are pretty much what they sound like. Push flow is the state where you're focused on poking and putting in damage on an enemy team and basically just focusing on moving forward in order to seal the deal. Pull flow is the state where you're focused on retreating in positions you can temporarily hold while you're watching for the enemy to put themselves in position to take damage. This last part is really important. Now, the beginning of a fight usually results in two teams both in push flow, trying to damage the enemy team in order to put them on defense and have the space and freedom to push in to close the fight. If both teams have equal cover and positioning, the clash and push flows make sense. It's like an unstoppable force versus an immovable object. And these are the type of fights that you don't really want to stay in too long because guns are very loud on this game and footsteps aren't. So it'd be very easy for you to get caught out in third partied and fourth partied and 18th party because you're the only team in the area that's fighting, making a whole bunch of noise, and you've been fighting for 3 minutes with nobody getting a knock. A general rule, if the fight has been going on for a few minutes and it looks like nobody is going to be able to make any type of move towards any type of ending the fight, I just like to give it up because at that point it's not fun. But if you're in a position where you're at a disadvantage as far as both cover and positioning, pull flow might make more sense, and let me show you what I mean. So if a team is trying to open up opportunity to push you, they'll probably do so if they get a shield crack or, God forbid, a knock. In that case, the enemy usually has to push across areas of openness in order to get to your team, unless they have like an Ash or an Octane, in which case you better have some good aim. But with this push from the enemy team when you're in pull flow, your objective is to be looking to deal damage when they cross through the open. By the time the enemy team gets to you, if you have one teammate with health plus at least half shield, another teammate with health and presumably full shield that just rezzed your teammate, or healed if it was just a teammate getting your shield cracked, and your last teammate that just got rezzed, he has a little bit of health left, and he might have some shields if y'all got a gold shield. If he didn't get knocked, he probably got health and a little bit of shield. I'm in editing right now, and I know I'm gonna have to diagram this because it's confusing, and I want to jump out of a window. Take all of that versus one enemy whose shield you just cracked, one enemy who's either full shield or you did damage to also, and another enemy that might be full shield. That's an almost even match, isn't it? Either way, pull flow in this regard denotes you being in a state where you're moving and defending your position aggressively in order to open up opportunities for you to switch to push flow. And the reason I call them flows is because they're fluid and they can change in a split second, just like anything in this game. If you knock an enemy when they try to push you after getting a shield crack, you've now switched flows. You have the opportunity to push them and finish the fight, and they have to revive, back up, heal, and fend off your attack, which is basically what I just spent 5 minutes explaining before. But if that helps you understand it better, then I guess that works too. Now this concept works really well for solo players or solo queuers who have to deal with teammates who get downed when they get grazed or the fabric right. I'm getting a headache just thinking about it. If you're by yourself, then enemies are usually going to be aggressive. All they need to do is surround you and yuk in your general direction with their gun, and now you're dead. So if you're in this position, you're going to be aggressively switching between flows, trying to pull the enemy towards you and through the open, while constantly keeping yourself in areas where you can move and reposition to put space between you and the enemy team. Zip lines, staircases, doors, boxes, ways that you can move and get to different positions where the enemy has to constantly move to you, and that'll usually cause them to put less of a focus on things like cover in their own positioning because they'll be hyped to close in and get the kill on you. Now, you enter push flow on these occasions when you catch an enemy solo and you're able to do a lot of damage to them, hopefully without taking much, and move to a new position quickly. This isolation of enemies when you're by yourself, whether playing solo or ending up solo, is important to win any fight. Now after you move to a new position, you re-enter pull flow in this regard, as you have to remember, down players still have eyes, and they can still ping where you are to their teammates. So you want to pull the teammates into a state of being lackadaisical and panicking to focus on the res, or even worse, make them feel like there's calm, and it really be the calm before the storm. Now depending on the gun you have, you can do a lot of damage and possibly even kill an enemy mid-res. This is an easy way you can quickly quickly turn a 3v1 into a 2v1 into a 1v1, and now you have a lot more leeway in the fight. What I usually try to do in a situation like this is I try to take a position to repeat what I did to the second teammate to the third, but a smart player will usually just end up trying to kill you before they even try to res, or try to bait you with the res. Watch out for that too. Now these all go towards the topic of making the enemy do what you want, pulling the enemy into positions and baiting them to make a bad move that you can punish them for, or pushing the enemy and your aggression causing them to fumble as well, i.e. something just simple like grenading someone out of cover and knocking them. And as we talked about recently, Apex Legends is a pretty fast-paced game with a lot of options to move around and get away, and the same amount of options to move forward as well. Push and pull flow are concepts that can help you develop baselines of what to do in certain situations down to the micro, which is where there's a lot more importance in the fighting aspect of Apex than you may think. They're about mindsets as much as they are the actions that you do while in these situations, and mindset does predicate action. You should always be looking to be either actionary or reactionary. Sitting in mental stalemate for extended periods of time is how you usually get caught out and people get the drop on you. And these are the types of things that put you in situations where you end up being a liability for the team. Now the main topic of conversation today when it comes to push and pull flow has been fighting and repositioning and things like that. But since this is Apex Legends, you can't necessarily forget the fact that all of these characters have abilities, and using your abilities in an effective manner can definitely help change the outcome of a fight and switch it up from you being the one on your back foot to you being the one pushing forward trying to close out the fight. You should always be looking to isolate the solo as quickly as possible, or if one of your teammates is in a 1v1 fight, you should be looking to support them before it turns into a 2v1 against them and now you're down a teammate and probably gonna get downed. Now, one thing that I do feel like deters people, and I'm not even gonna lie, I've seen and heard people say this before, is the fact that some people don't necessarily want to interrupt or interfere with their teammates' fights because they don't want to feel like they're stealing kills or they're stealing their teammates' kills. I promise you, I 100,000% promise you, like 10 billion% on some Senku shit. If you help your teammate and prevent them from dying, they will be exponentially more excited to have you on their team than someone who just stands there and watches and doesn't shoot a shot because, oh, I didn't want to take your kill, bro. At the end of the day, push and pull flow and making people do what you want has a lot to do with putting people in bad positions, as well as taking advantage of bad positions that they put themselves in. You should always be looking to punish a team for what they do, or put them in a position to be punished. Because if you allow on every team to now I do what I want every time they get in a fight with y'all, they just gonna end up Lil Uzi dancing on your death box, and that's not gonna be a fun time, is it? Alright, so when I initially scripted this video out, I thought it was going to be a little bit longer. But that works in y'all favor, because now I got a bonus concept to talk about with y'all. Well, I mean, it's not necessarily a concept, more so just a topic of conversation in Apex. But it's also something important that y'all need to get through y'all thick skulls sometimes when y'all playing this damn game. Now, as you might have just heard me say, you need to always be looking to be either actionary or reactionary. Now, first of all, y'all might be like,
Actionary? That's not a damn word. What the hell is this man talking? Let me click off this video.
first of all, please don't. I kind of need y'all. But anyway, let me make sense of it all. Now, when I'm talking about being actionary, that more so aligns with the push flow part of the first part of the video. But at the end of the day, it's more so about your total state of being when you're playing the game in general. Most of the time, when you're playing the game, when you're doing pretty much anything in the game, you need to be looking to be actionary. You need to be looking to take action, rotate, move, find good positioning, scout the area, see what's going on around you, actually be listening, because you know, like I said earlier, guns are very loud, but footsteps aren't. So if you hear gunshots in an area and you can determine where they're coming from, there's more than likely going to be other teams circling around to that area. That may not necessarily be the way you want to go. I mean, unless you're looking for kills, in which case go over there and clean everybody up. But that's more so what I'm talking about when I talk about being actionary. You need to always be looking to take some sort of action that's going to put you in a better position if you get into a fight, if you get called out, if you get cornered, if you get put in a bad situation, something like that. And also, if you're in those bad situations, you need to be looking to put yourself in position to get out, to have an escape route, to have some way to turn the table so that you're not just in a terrible position with gunshots just raining down on you like it's goddamn Band of Brothers or something. Now, being reactionary kind of relates more so to the pull flow part of the earlier part of the video. And yeah, I promise you, this is a different concept. I'm not just rehashing it and extending it to make the video longer. I'm not even getting ad revenue from these yet anyway, so there would be no point for me to do that. And that's the perfect time to introduce today's sponsor, Repositioning. It's like, no, I would never I can't stand that game. Y'all would never see that shit on my channel. But the difference between being actionary and being reactionary, being actionary is more so an all-encompassing mindset of you going around the lobby, rotating, fighting, things like that. Being reactionary more so relates to smaller reactions.
Yep, that didn't make sense. It's in the name.
All right, shut up. Being reactionary more so pertains to responding to the stimuli of the environment around you and all the things that are going on around you in said environment. So if you know of Watson, and I mean, if you play Apex Legends, how don't you? It's somewhat akin to something that I talked about in my Watson fence guide. Can we get this to you know, more than 1,000 views? By the way, I might have to do something violent to a Nessie if that doesn't happen soon. You know, I might. But you can think of it as the difference between direct fencing and instinctual fencing. I might have actually said that in this video. I'm not 100% sure. These videos and scripts are starting to blend together in my head at this point. One thing I noticed on this game, when people have a game plan, they tend to get tunnel vision and stick to that game plan no matter what happens around them. And that is one of the main differences between being actionary and reactionary. If you have a plan, the things that are going on around you are going to affect that plan whether you like it or not. So you may not always be able to stick to your initial plan just because it seemed like it was a good move at the moment. Like I've said thousands of times at this point, Apex Legends is a very fast-paced moving game, which means in the blink of an eye, something that you thought was a very good idea, was a great move, can end up being a very bad move, just like that, in the snap of a finger. And one of the key things about being reactionary is information. If you're one of the types of people in this game who kind of finds it difficult to quickly take in information, then at the very least, just focus on what it is that you can take in. All the information around you, teams, gunfights, items, areas of interest, areas that have actually been gone through already, choke points, all the different things around you. Anything that you can actually take heed of that'll help put your team in a better position to get the win in the end is going to be a lot better than you just blindly following someone into a position where he might get all of y'all shot at. Reaction timing is very big in this game in a lot more ways than just how fast you're able to shoot your gun when you see an enemy. So just because you want to be quick draw McGraw, that doesn't automatically make you an expert or even an intermediate at all of the other encompassing aspects of the game. And you need to be taking into account that in Apex Legends, you can win your fights, but if you can't win all your fights until the end of the game, then once again, I'll leave that to y'all to decide. I don't really feel like having the kill grinders in my comments trying to kill me. But if you want to win more games, take the necessary steps needed to put yourself in good positions to win the game, and take action when you need to. Don't just sit around sitting in a loot box in your head trying to figure out what it is that you're going to eat for dinner tonight. Focus on the game, focus on what's going on around you, focus on getting yourself in good positions where you can take heed of what's going on around you without getting caught out. Be sure to keep your head on a swivel, because there's a lot of choke points and little areas that people can hide in that just pop out on you in a split second. And above all, take in and disseminate information. Information is probably number one in this game. If you don't know what's going on both with the game and what's going on in your lobby around you, then there's only so much you can do, and that's probably not going to be much at all. At the end of the day, the elements of fighting in a battle royale are just as important as the elements of survival and looting and knowing the terrain and things like that. And a lot of people, when it comes down to just the pure fighting aspect of Apex Legends, tend to get confused because there's not really any game you can really compare it to out there. And with it being so fast-paced and there being so much going on all the time, you may not always have the proper time to think out and plan your strategies and reactions to things that may happen. So developing baseline strategies of handling certain situations in fights can definitely be one of the keys to improving a lot in short amounts of time. Now, I know I talked about the fact that with the nature of how Apex Legends is, there's a lot of times where you'll end up finding yourself in situations where your teammates are going to be down and probably out of the lobby. Like, they gonna leave you, bro. With that being said, that doesn't necessarily always mean that the situation is Memphis bleak and you need to just give up, because we're not quitters over here, dog. So check this video out if you want to learn more about the psychology of taking on a lobby even when you're outnumbered. I swear we had it too. Oh my god, of course. No fucking noise.